Well, how we all doing, folks? Hi, welcome to the Mackem's review show. I'm just on hold because I'm about to go live on BBC Radio Newcastle. I'm going to be talking to Marco in a bit because the phoned us. Look back at the usual news and fans banter over the last 7 days. Like I say, I am on hold at the moment. As I'm about to go live on BBC Radio Newcastle. I am slightly early, but it gives a chance for a few people to come in. So what we'll be looking at the fans' responses on my YouTube channel and the comments. We'll be going on the transfer rumours, and we'll be chatting as well about the press conference what Regis Lebris did today. So we'll be going back over that as well. Oh, dear me. Just can't believe the season's like within a day and a bit away. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy. I just think it's crazy where the time's actually gone, to be honest with you. Absolutely crazy. Oh, dear me. So there we are. I'll be getting a phone call very soon from BBC Radio Newcastle. So, oh dear me. Once again, another week has passed since I did the last show, and we still haven't got that elusive striker or two, and he's Radio Newcastle now. Hello. Yes, absolutely fine, no problem. BBC Radio Newcastle. Good evening. How are you all? Are you all fitting well? Good evening. Yeah, I'm great, thank you. Just sick of all this rain, constant rain in Carlisle every day. Fed up of it. So basically, what's on my mind tonight? Then? It's been yeah. What's been on my mind is the fact, like, you know, the only way I can possibly suggest that the reason why it's so little and happening on the strikers front and things like that, um, could it be perhaps that Kale Dion and Speakman could just be quite content spending another season in the championship. Maybe the goal isn't to get promoted. Obviously, I think we're too good, obviously, to go down. And yes, people say, well, you should always have a goal of getting promoted. But maybe being in the championship for another season or another season maybe isn't a bad thing considering all the years we were in League One. That's the only thing I'm trying to think of. The reason why it's so little activity, because maybe it's they're not going to be wanting to push for promotion them in this up and coming new season, and maybe they'll be quite happy just consolidating. Maybe it's mid-table-ish in the championship. What do you guys reckon about that? Hmm. 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 It doesn't know, and now I know it's only the first game of the season coming up against Cardiff, and you cannot really judge what's sort of going to happen after the first game of the season. Nobody can. But I just think if it's a really terrible performance by Sunderland against Cardiff and we'll get pummeled 4-0 and we're absolutely awful, I just think there'll be an absolute backlash from the fans because they've been waiting and waiting to say, look, we need firepower. We've not had any firepower since Ross Stewart left, and I just think there'd be a really a backlash from the fans, and I know it's a bit premature, but it's as almost say, "Told you so, told you so." We need our strikers, and I just think that's what possibly could happen if we do play absolutely shocking against Cardiff and we get absolutely murdered. I don't know. Yeah. Hmm. Good to speak to you. Thank you very much. Well, well, there we go. That's me on BBC Radio Newcastle. Been talking to been talking to Marco Gabbiadini and the crew, talking about the lack of transfers from Sunderland. Good evening, Cabby from a really wet Cornwall. Yeah, it's chucking it down here. So, welcome to the Cabby, sorry, the Mackem review show. We're going to dive straight in. We're gonna go back along with the videos I've been putting up from my YouTube, and as we can see, I posted a week ago. I Let's get back on my thing here. Yeah, I put Sunderland to wait until deadline day for strikers, which, in fairness, doesn't seem that bad really, considering most of the deals do seem to be taking place on deadline day. So if we just scroll down to this, we got Razzle Claice, as you can see there. It says we've been waiting since Ross Stewart left to sign a proven centre forward, Cabby, and I've just said that on Radio Newcastle tonight, just now. It's getting beyond a joke now. Why can't we attract and pay the wages of a lad that will get us up to the Premiership rather than struggle like the end of last season? If we don't, we'll be scraping down the bottom, says Razzle Clark. And Hall says Sunderland closing on prime transfer target as player misses team training, and I think he's on about Mendy there when we're still waiting to hear that. As we go further down the line, we've got Stephen Hensel says Keir Aldi and Speakman have sucked the life out of me supporting my football club. He says I just don't get excited anymore, and you know what? I get that feeling as well at the beginning of next season. Coming up, it's the fact like we've just done that much little effort when it comes to the transfers and the new signings. It's like I'm more sort of dreading the match against Cardiff than out else. But just, but anyway, Robert Brown says 2 years plus, and this clown still cannot get a striker through the door. The four he signed last season couldn't hit me if I stood in front of them. Isn't it about time the fans let Dreyfus know that Speakman needs to go now? And that was from Robert. Mark Naylor says probably be three we've never heard of again. Regis Labrie is a fresh set of eyes and a fresh outlook. Hopefully he can get a tune out of them. So, and we got one way ticket. Dave at the top says won't pay the wages, breaks the current structure. Everyone knows a decent reliable striker will cost more than 15k a week, and here lies the problem. Good friend here of the channel, Thane, says some people will probably say don't be daft, we'll get strikers in or least one before Cardiff, and yes we could do, but the God's honest truth, I wouldn't be surprised if we leave it till the last minute and get some panic signings in. You take Clark away from that team, where's the goals and creativity going to come from? Yes, you'll get that odd goal and assist from others, but that's not enough to rely on. You need strikers, otherwise you're setting yourself up to fail. He says, I'm really worried, he says, he really is, says Thane. So I think he's feeling a bit more what most of us are feeling, to be quite honest with you. So let's have a look further down. We've got Daz. He says that's hope KLD squares the stadium and sells in the winter. He's been a total disgrace. It takes us so long to get a striker deal over the line, says Trio Songbird, because they're trying to do it on the cheap. Stephen Jones says even a good coach cannot polish a turd. Marky Markiaki21 says, like I said the other day, they can't sign a striker to save their life at this rate. It will be 2080 and they will be still looking for a striker. Michael Atkinson says, I hear that Fulham are prepared to send Jay Stansfield out on loan again. He scored 13 for Birmingham last season. I prefer a permanent signing, but I'd like to see a score for this. And this lad, even if it's just a loan, he's already had a decent season at this level and could do better even better for us. David says, the worrying thing is that we need 2 strikers and not just one. Black Cat 1973 says, we won't sign any strikers. Speakman will just not buy any. He has something against them for some unknown reason. He will make the usual excuses. He has to go. Kevin says, as long as we don't panic buy and get more crap, which is a good point, but didn't want to make the mistake as getting the likes of Will Grigg and that. We want Jay Stansfield, or Thierno Barry from Basel, in my opinion, or both. Both cost a bit, but far better long-term options than Mendy or this Pivotnic, who I don't rate, free or not. Kevin Caden says, that means playing 6 games without a striker. Well, it does if we wait until deadline day, but a lot of deals are done on deadline day, aren't they? That's the way it is. And the case is our squad good enough to get some points on the board? Jason Black says, idiots don't use Twitter. Says it's a long season. We can afford to go without a striker for a bit. If we bring in some good on deadline day or even January, we'll be all right. If by February 25 we haven't signed a decent striker, I'll hop on the Pooh Boys bus with the rest of you. He says, keep the faith. Jason Black says, because they are scraping their bargain basement barrel and won't pay the going rate. It's the KLD and Speakman way, he says. The Ferret says, sleepwalking into a relegation fight. I mean, surely, if we're not good on, if we cannot beat better the bottom 3 in the championship, there's something seriously wrong there. Like, you know what I mean? John Union says, there's a pattern all the time, mate, he says. Free players and kids, they are signed in a crack. When there's money to pay, I think they look at players knowing that it would be a hassle to try and sign them. Then they keep dangling on until the club says, no, we aren't selling, or the player changes his mind, like Mendy. Will he get a new bumper contract at this club? Then our so-called brains will say, why didn't we try? But unfortunately, we couldn't get like they always say, mate. He says, top and bottom, he says, they have no money. Or knowing us, will sell our best players to get players in. But our board, don't they keep the money, he says. Seriously, mate, an absolute bloody joke of a club. Everybody knows who supports the clubs look forward to the season. We don't, because we are just crap in the transfer window. Pixel Rich, good evening, welcome onto the channel, mate. He says, interesting comment from Regis in his press conference, asked on strikers. He maintains to work with what he has as a job of the coach. I'll have a brief look at the press conference today. We'll have a quick look and we'll have a quick going over that. Stevie says, Pivotnic to Swansea, Blackburn signed 3 in a day. What the hell are we playing at? Sky Blues, the Coventry fan, friend of the channel, he says, why didn't you look at Asante from West Brom? We just got him for 2.5. He's a good goal scorer, young and cheap. David Joblin says, going down. Definitely City 3, Sunderland 1. He thinks it'll be Cardiff City 3, Sunderland 1. Kenneth Brown says, to be honest, Speakman is not asked at all about strikers because they're all money now is in the bank. He's going to sit on it and hopes he's going to get lucky. That geese is just a chancer. Susan Prescott says he will not get one, no way. How are you doing the Yorkshire Mackem? Regis Labrie, he says Regis Labrie's press conference was good and he came across well. That's what he reckons. Yeah, we'll have a look at it, like I say, later on in a minute. Jeff Wilkie says Geordies don't stand for S&T and lies. Why do we? We're a laughing stock in football because no one but us takes all this rubbish. Oh, sorry, I forgot. They have a Ukrainian wonder kid who can't score in a brothel. Great owners, lads. Speak one out. And the auction backman reckons we'll win 2-1. Take that one. So then, that was my video from a week ago. And let's have a look of what else we can go through. 6 days ago. Yep. And this was a one about signing the Mio Hasoya from one of the Japan leagues. And of course I said, but who is he? Russell Clark says, just when we thought it couldn't get any worse. Frank Clennell says, God help us. This was, of course, on the rumour that we were getting that Japanese striker. Zap Frisco says, same old like we all expect. Filled us full of shite. Took our season ticket money. Now heading into the Cardiff match with no striker like we all thought we would. It's a total disgrace. And I have to say, there's something not right while the fact like we've not even got one in. Kenneth says, I'm excited about it. I nearly peed myself. I think he's been a bit sarcastic there, I would say. Jason Black says, more of the same sort of calibre we signed previously, just another punt. Sooner or later, one of these has to have a success. Need to offload some of the previous punts, either permanently or in loans. As we move further down, John says, no ambition, we're going down. Like I say, I don't think we'll be gone down. I think if we can't better the teams at the bottom, the 3 teams at the bottom, then there's a serious problem as the rain is starting once again. Jamie Dalrymple says, we will do anything but spend money on a proven goal scorer. Give it 10 games and the Stadium of Light Faithful will turn very, very nasty indeed. Peter says, we need a goal scoring striker. We certainly do. Richard Parker, as a Mackem manager of an amateur club in Japan, I'll guarantee you that Japanese players adapt slowly, if at all, to European style footy. And I hope you can hear me okay over the rain on the roof of my conservatory. Just Ray says, could be good for the future, but need a proven championship goal scorer. Now, Thane, he comments on the Japanese player. He says, some of the strikers that we are getting linked with now, he says, are just ridiculous. It's like last season all over again. This lad might be young, but 20 plus goals in 120 games doesn't fill me with confidence, and it's not what we need right now. We're also being linked with a striker from Belgium's second division. He says, I'm not being funny, but half the sides in the Belgium second tier would struggle in League One. He says, we go from looking at Mendy to strikers that play in poor leagues and don't even have great records. We should only be looking at strikers from England, Scotland, France, Germany, Spain, Italy and Portugal, because the calibre isn't too bad, even in the second tiers. Anywhere else is just a massive gambles and panics. So he thinks, looking at the Asian leagues in Japan and that, he just thinks they're not going to adapt to the championship. Donald says, what a load of... No offence to this player, or many others, but we must get in a proven striker or we'll be sunk by game 4. Robert Brown says, for God's sake, what the hell is Speakman doing? Like I said previously, KLD and Speakman have got the fans' money. Now they can take the piss again, cabby. Looking that way, some would say. When did the club announce this, or is it just rumours? It was on one of the websites. I can't remember what it was now, but I report anything that I do see online. I don't think it officially came from the club. Nothing really does come officially from the club unless the player is holding a scarf above his head Jeff Wilkie says, what the F have they signed another goalkeeper? We need strikers, for God's sake. That's on signing our striker. Susan Prescott says, might have been good for him. Wish change. Have we got an effing striker yet? Everybody's going striker. David Joblin says, donkey. The Ferret says, from bad to worse, cabby. Lad, we're a laughing stock. Not at all surprised a relegation fight awaits. That's the third comment that's basically said. A relegation strike. Michael Weatherburn says, not going to happen. Another joke. Stevie says, what the F is he? Got to be a P take, surely, cabby. So there we go. That was on the Sunderland to sign Mayo Hosoya. And then, of course, I found out the next day that Sunderland signing Blondie and then Nukoya and the news on strikers. So this is on Sunderland signing, of course, of Blondie, the new goalkeeper. And, of course, the player Ugo, which looks like he's going to Sheffield Wednesday, but we were rumoured and linked with him. So on that, Jason Black says, must be a top quality if Stoke let him go. This is on the keeper. First of all, we'll say hello to Tony Huntington in the chat. He says, hi, all well. Hope we can sneak a win 1-0. If the defence can hold on, probably a draw. We definitely need goal scoring striker. If they guarantee goals, might as well keep what we have. I think that's what he's saying. Back to the keeper signing. If we sign another keeper, for fuck's sake, says Jamie. D. Hall says Patterson, Moore and Blondie will allow Richardson to join Matty Young in going on loan for experience. Mendy announced Monday. It didn't happen. It's now Thursday. Nothing happened yet. Aldorf says, here it's kicking off in your city. I think he's going on about the riots for them idiots. Patrick says, grab your boots, cabby. Looks like you're going to be our new number 9. Might as well give it a go, eh? Just Ray says, I honestly don't think they will sign a striker, as I don't think KLD wants us to get promoted to the Premiership. And that's what I said tonight on BBC Newcastle when I was talking to Marco Gabbiadini. I says it might be a business thing that he's quite happy for Sunderland to just sit in the Championship. Doesn't want us to get up. Sounds daft, I know that. Thane, with his good posts as usual, says on the keep, he says, like I said before, this deal should have been done weeks ago. The man's been on trial for Christ's sake, and we wait until now to announce him. Especially at a time where we all want to hear about his strikers. But as for the striker situation, in an ideal world, I'll be over the moon if we got Mendy and Ugbo. Unfortunately though, says Thane, I think we'll be lucky to get one of them. My personal preference would be Mendy out of the two of them, because right now a proven goal scorer with a huge amount of experience is far more important, but at the same time we do need a striker with Championship experience. So basically you want a bit of both, which will give you a much better chance of potentially doing something this season. Time's ticking for this lot, because it'll be an absolute embarrassment if we don't have a striker before Cardiff. Well, Thane, and this was 5 days ago, we're playing them in a day and a half's time. There's no sign of getting a striker yet. Far from it. Alan Robinson says KLD and Speakman out as the rain gets heavier here. Just Ray says, so they should. KLD should never have bought the club if he wasn't to go to invest in players. Harry Turner says, why another goalkeeper? Does this mean Pato is off to Man City? A few fans have said, could Pato be on his way out? Just call him Blondie, mate, says Chris. Michael says Speakman out. And Paul Wilkinson says, my God, with that name, he should be in a boy band. There we go. Tony Hunting on the chat. He says, how many keepers have that scored goals? Poom. Speakman might be wanting to use them as strikers. Well, I think possibly Pooh might do a better job than the strikers we have at the moment. So next, on to the next subject. Or I did the Marseille review. And still no strikers. This, of course, was the match when we played Marseille. That were last friendly, of course. So we've got Only Fools in SAFC, friend mate of the channel. This is great video, mate. He says, I agree it was a good performance. I just don't think we have the players to do that on a constant basis, though. And it would be a similar pattern of last season, of win 1, lose 2, etc. And the striker situation is an utter disgrace and has been for too long. We lose Clark and we struggle to score goals, full stop. Speakman and KLD to blame for lack of spending money. So it's Only Fools SAFC. Thane once again says, there was a lot of positives to take from the Marseille game, and it was definitely our best 90-minute performance in pre-season. He says, however, the defence has me worried going into the Cardiff game. Not just because of the Marseille game, but throughout pre-season I've not been convinced by us at the back. He says, we're crying out for an experienced centre-back, and also the striker situation is just one big joke. Of course it is. Yes, the Mendy situation isn't fully on the club, especially after Mendy's statement. However, we should be looking at other targets, and we should have at least one in before Cardiff. And now it looks like we won't have a striker in before the Cardiff game. Then, and even if we did, they won't be fully fit enough straight away. The fact that we keep being in the situation every season is just absolutely ridiculous and embarrassing. Yes, says Thane, we might have things sorted come deadline day, but why can't we have majority of our business done before then? Because the longer we go without addressing our problems, it could potentially lead to panic buying come deadline day like we have in the past. Like I've said before, it's make or break for this season. And I do agree. I absolutely do agree. Column says, the trouble now is that if a striker does come in, he's on a hide or nothing. If he doesn't score in the first 2 or 4 games, he says the crowd will be on his back, which won't help anyone or anything. Any new players, strikers need time to settle in, which could take at least 6 games. So let's reserve judgment on the team and players for at least 6 games and get behind them, says Colin. Paul Hemming says, I hope the recruitment team have a nice surprise waiting for the fans. Sadly though, I think the inability to sign a striker is a sign of poor recruitment. Fingers crossed, Cabby, he says. Tebek says, I'm all over it with strikers. Roscoe was our last 9. It's same old Sunderland story. I'm now at the point we don't get a striker. It's going to be Meenda, Rusin, then going to be a January transfer window, and that's not good. You heard it here first. He says, no strikers in this window. And back on the chat, Yorkshire Mackem says, Pixel Rich, I agree. He something over really well. I'll have to get rid of that heart emoji because it stops me from reading the comments. Kenneth Brown, David Joblin says, going down, bottom 2, the club is a shambles. Do you think the club's bottom 2? Do you think the squad we've got is bottom 2? Surely not. Kenneth says, no comments yet. Wellsheet 1979, I think he's a Cardiff fan. He says, Cardiff 2-1 win. Sorry, he says, don't apologise. And David Joblin says, Penny Pension Club. So we will go back to the next one, and this was an interesting one as well. Hearing reports like say Mason Burstow to re-sign on another season-long loan, and this sparked quite a response. And this was due, apparently, he was seen at the Valley Parade watching the game, and he met the lads off the coach. Apparently, meeting with the lads, and some websites were posting the fact like we could be going in for him again because he's not had a chance to gel properly, and he might be a different player under Regis Labrie. So the Songbird says, in my opinion, if they bring Burstow back, he says, then Speakman and maybe KLD need to go. He reckons it'll be the final straw if we get Burstow back. Just Ray says, hey Cabby, He says, you know what? He says, I can see it happening because I don't believe KLD will not buy one striker, never mind two that we need. He says, as for does he deserve another chance, I don't believe he does, he says. But us real supporters don't have a say about the idiots owning and ruining and running the club, unfortunately. Mr. Bojingle says, you have to be pulling everybody's chain with this. I weren't. That's what I'm reporting. Jason Black says, not good enough. Never looked capable of scoring goals. Was one of the poorest loan signings we've ever had. A lot of fans say that about Burstow. One of the poorest loan signings we've ever had. User says, who signs these people is hapless. Keep our best players, whatever the price. The Morph says, may just as well get Joe Gelhardt back as well. And I replied to that saying, I didn't mind Joe Gelhardt, to be quite honest with you. I liked his attitude. Something about him. Yet a user says he met the players off the coach on Saturday, apparently. Ryan says, how cabby man. We obviously aren't going to re-sign Burstow, are we? We're still waiting for Mendy and the new Khan investors to leave him. Idiots don't use Twitter says, not sure he'd do any more than Meander. Could fit the style maybe, but I'd rather a bit more quality and or experience for a lone striker. This is regarding could Sunderland re-sign Burstow on another season long loan. Michael Atkinson says, if it were true, then we would have to completely change the way we were playing from last season, as we got used to playing without a striker and were creating absolutely nothing from whoever was up front. He says, Burstow, Hamia and Rusin. Then we get to see if the lad could score goals. On the face of it though, it would possibly be the most underwhelming loan signing ever if we got him again. Not very good comments on that one there. Gail Hoyle says, absolutely ridiculous, Cabby. No ambition whatsoever. He says, the writing is on the wall for another mediocre season. He says, good night of Vienna. Artie Joy says, give our. Neil Dipper says, KLD and Speakman pushing the boundaries too far. Last thing they want is supporters turning on them, but it'll happen if they carry on doing what they are doing. He was useless for us last season, was an understatement, says Peter Harvey. Pixel Rich commented, he says, no way for me, mate. He says, I still say this season it's make or break time for this hierarchy, and they will feel the wrath of the fans if it goes tits up, my opinion. And that's exactly what I said on BBC Radio Newcastle tonight when I was talking to Marco. I said there'll be a backlash at the Cardiff City game if Sunderland get pulverised and it's a really bad performance and they get thumped something like 4-0. There'll be hell on with the fans. I even know it's only one game, and I said that. Raf says big no. User says offer Clark 40 grand a week to keep him. Do you really think Sunderland will pay 40 grand a week? Wages. Michael says more loans than Lloyd's Bank. Tony Huntington says I can't and won't benefit SCFC. He may come good, but only Chelsea can benefit. User says we need better than Birdstore. Norman says they don't know what they are doing. User says and Gozamp. I don't know what he's on about there. Neil Dipper says KLD is effing me off. He needs to go. What the F is going on? Missing out on strikers every time they've even got the funds to bring in players. Burstow can go. He's effing shite. User says keep Neil 35 grand a week. And he's also went Mendy. Stephen Taylor says, pardon the language, mate, but you are effing kidding me. Where did you hear this from? Marty says, this just cannot happen, surely. It was utter shite. Daz says, you're unbelievable. People actually think the club's this stupid. That wouldn't put us past us, would it? Colin says, where is this rumour from? It was, the fans were all talking about it. It was on one of the websites as well. A user says, is this a wind-up? Believe it or not, it wasn't at the time. And Ferret says, yeah, why not let's get another useless striker in to go with the other useless ones we've got? Has he been a bit harsh there? We've yet to see what Rooston and them's going to be like when the season starts under our new manager. User says, same old, same old. The lad isn't good enough. It's just another cheap option again. Dave Air says, definitely not. Thane says, in reality, this should be a load of bollocks. He says, however, I heard from someone that Burstow was at the game on Saturday. Hopefully, it's a load of rubbish. However, if something like this did happen, then as far as I'm concerned, you might as well end up the season before it even starts. No disrespect to the lad, but he was one of the worst strikers I've seen play for this club. This lad makes the likes of John Stead, Josie Altidore and Danny Graham look top class. He says, let's face it, we're not signing anyone anytime soon. Cameron says, no, he is an absolute shite again. And user says, Mendy again. So that not very good as to be expected for Mason Burstow. And on to me next post and the feedback. Me in the taxi, hello. Ian Paveda might not feature for at least a month. Apparently he's not fit. And Hall says Paveda is 4 weeks behind the start of pre-season training. Plus it seems he's had a few pies over the summer break. Getting him fit and keeping him fit could be certainly a challenge. Now, it was strange the fact like he didn't even feature in any of the pre-season games. I would have liked to seen him, but we didn't get the chance to. Michael Atkinson says, to be honest, I don't think he'd have been starting ahead of Roberts just yet anyway. He says Roberts has looked pretty good in pre-season and can hopefully reproduce his form from the season before last. We all want Patrick Roberts to get back to the player he was, because he was lethal. User says, journeyman, some things never change. Irish Mackem. Ian Banks says, Bradley Dack 2.0, an injury-prone journeyman. Gordon says, read somewhere that he's actually 2 weeks behind in fitness. For Paveda. The Ferret says, Tony Hunton says, well, he was free for a reason. Is that imploring that he's crap? The Ferret says, like I said, he's made of glass. Starting this season with the same inept forwards as last season. What a pair of takers providing beyond us all the doubt. Le Bollocks is a yes man. I think he's according to Regis Lebris there. User says, we look as though we brought another waste of time in new lad. They knew he was injury prone, never change. Is he gonna just sit and warm the bench? A lot of fans are concerned with that one. Kenneth says, "Hey up, Cabby." The member Kenneth, a member of the channel, he says, "Hey up, Cabby." It is history repeating itself again. It's a sign of madness, doing the same thing time and time again. The outcome is always the same. Come Halloween, bottom half. And a lot of Sunderland fans are saying bottom half. Thane says again, Sunderland are best at getting players with a history of injury problems. I did say if we keep Paveda fit, he'll probably be an exciting addition. He says, however, it's clearly nowhere near ready yet. And if he gets injured straight away as soon as he's fully fit, then it's a waste of a signing. He says, in reality, only Brown offers us something new and different in terms of experience. And midfield ability, so far 2 keepers, an injury-prone winger and Brown. That's pretty pathetic from June to August. He says, I'm not buying this whole, I'm sure they're working hard behind the scenes. Clearly not hard enough. All this lot care about is taking the fans' money and not reinvesting back into the squad. Jason Black says on Paveda, he says, to be fair, I don't think the lessons have been learned by KLD and Speakman. He says, we aren't that naive to think otherwise. I just think it was wishful thinking on our part. He says, I've no sympathy for KLD or Speakman. They've had summer to fix the issues. Sky Blues, a Coventry fan, friend of the channel, he says, to get out of this league, he says, you need either a £10 million plus striker already at the club or buying one. Can't do anything on 300k players. Sorry, but it's true. Some might argue the fact like we've got Kevin Phillips virtually next to now. Look where that ended up. But they are rare. They are rare breeds, aren't they? Jamie says, so we have signed 2 keepers, a crock of an older player, knee strikers spent totally out. We have all been taken for mugs again. The fans are still thinking we're getting took for mugs. Ryan says, strange one that. He says, mate, considering Regis has just said he'll be available in 10 to 14 days. Usual crap again, he says. I just don't think he's going to be available in that short space of time. The fact that he didn't even feature in the friendly games. Ian Porter says, every player is injured at some point. He says, it can happen at any point in the season. He says, like Ballard is too. He says, it doesn't automatically make a player constantly injury prone though, does it? He says, neither should he be compared to Dak, who has a lifetime of injuries and hadn't recovered from a serious knee injury when we bought him. I never rated even when he was fit. He was simply an awful signing, he says. That doesn't mean Pavida will be the same, but his injury record could have been better, admittedly, he says. However, being without the club probably hasn't helped him with his current injury and no pre-season, of course. But hopefully, since signing, he'll be getting the treatment he needs and start building his fitness. In general, though, he says fast footballers like Pavida tend to pick up muscle and tendons injuries too often, but you've just got to accept it. It's just unfortunate that Sunderland seem to just always get a lot of injuries. Just Ray says, hey Cabby, if you buy cheap, you get rubbish. What do you expect from this shower running the club? So on to the last post, which was today. This was on BBC Radio Newcastle last night's Total Sport. That Southampton looks like they're going to be putting Ross Stewart on loan, and should Sunderland go in for Ross Stewart? And this is the post I put up today, and it's had quite a good response for that. So should Sunderland to sign Ross Stewart on loan? John says, a desperate move. He says he chose to leave and he's not a proven Premiership player. He says he can't see that happening. Thane, of course, says, now straight away, he says, I know this will never happen. He says, and there's 2 reasons why. He says, first off, we got rid of him because he wouldn't sign a new deal with Sunderland, which I didn't blame him because we had him on peanuts in terms of wages. And even for a loan, we would need Southampton to pay his wages in full because we wouldn't pay his loan in full. And finally, he says, the man is massively injury prone now, which is a shame. He says, but we knew this when we signed him. We were lucky that he stayed fit during our promotion campaign because aside from that, throughout his whole career, he's been plagued with injuries. He says, personally, behind the scenes, I think tensions were rising between Stewart and the hierarchy. Maybe under a different regime, you couldn't rule it out, but right now it's never going to happen, unfortunately. You've got more chance of Burstow returning than Stewart. Yeah, and I mentioned that before, didn't I? A user says on Ross Stewart, no, a big mistake in my humble opinion. He's a massive injury prone player who didn't want to be here, and it's a backward step if we get Ross Stewart to get him back. As I say, it's all about opinions. Well, of course it is. Everybody's entitled to the opinions. Tony Huntington says desperate times need desperate measures. If you've just joined us, this is the talking about Ross Stewart could be going on loan from Southampton, and should Sunderland go in to get Ross Stewart for a season-long loan. Just Ray says he'll be better than nothing. What do you expect with this shambles running the club? Idiots don't use Twitter. He says, how is it desperate? He says, he's one of the best strikers to ever wear the stripes. We got a good deal in selling him when we did. He says, however, even if he does come, he says he will get injured. Would prefer Mendy either as well or as instead. Well, that if it happened as well, Mendy. On Ross Stewart returning to Sunderland, possibly on a season-long loan, Conrad Tank says yes. He says that would be great. Mark Inelli says, if we have to go down the loan road, I think there's better out there. He says, but if he stays injury-free, he says, then who knows? David says, yeah, of course, he's injury-prone. Wayne says about Jack Ross, he said he'll be on the bench for 10 months. Great player when he's fit, but too risky if injury reoccurs. And I think that's the gamble with every player as well, isn't it? Michael says, better off with Rod Stewart for freebies and a loan player. Apparently he's not been a bad player, Rod Stewart, in his time. You might give him a shout, shall we? Yeah, let's sign another injured player, says the ferret. You says, I'd love this to happen. And if we definitely should be in for him being a good championship striker, but it's unrealistic. When one, he's already played for us, and two, we'd have to pay his wages, which these tight owners would never do in a million years. D Hall says, doubt Ross Stewart would want to come back. It'd be like admitting his move is a failure so far. He's too highly strung for that. He says, would I want him back? He says, no way. He's too injury prone. Paying half his wages while he plays pool again makes no sense. He says, the ship has sailed. He says, it's time. And he says, the ship has sailed and has run aground. User says, not a chance. He'll be crocked in a week. On Ross Stewart, possible coming to Sun on a season-long loan. The ideas were Elizabeth says we're not getting a striker today or tomorrow. No chance. Dortmund 4626 says no chance Southampton will give him back even for a season after they paid so much for him. We would be mugging them off to sell them a 27-year-old with around 15 championship goals with a year on his contract for 10 million and then take him back for one of his prime years. He says, I just can't see that happening at all. Gary Hoyle says, would be ideal, but I can't see it happening. Jason Black says, I don't see it happening. There was a lot of negativity towards the player when he decided he wanted to leave us. He says, let's be honest, he was great for us. I'd have back, but he left because in his eyes he wanted to play in the Premier League and saw Southampton as a more realistic option to do that. On loan, there will be plenty of interest. Robert Smith says, two rights, he says, it'll be cracking. He says, hope it happens. Stephen Fell says, absolute laughingstock is our club. Still looking for a centre forward a bit. Would love to see him back, but just shows what a shambles our recruitment is. Susan says, another one, she says, always injured. Dave Eyre says, sounds like we're desperate. Do you think Sunderland are desperate if they were to go for Ross Stewart again on loan? Ben says, is he even fit right now? Hasn't been fit since playing for us. By all means, it would be great if he stayed fit. But for me, I think you could just bank on him. You would need someone else. A user says, oh my God, he says, where does all this bollocks come from? It's the transfer window. There's a lot of bollocks floating about. Believe it when I see it with these, says Neil Diaper. Brandon Catamol says, this will be good if we get Ross Stewart again on loan. Sunderland, he says, Sunderland need this man back. So he thinks we should get Ross Stewart back. Karen Wright says, yes, please on that one. Ben ASFC for life says, I would take Ross Stewart back any day of the week. The best striker since Defoe. Oh, that's a powerful one. Patrick says, would Ross Stewart be welcome though? Well, that's a canny one, isn't it? Would if he signed for Sunderland again, he says, would he be welcomed by the fans? And if he bangs the goals in, I think, yeah, absolutely. Maureen says, he's injury prone. Speakman will not get a striker this season. He'll play the youngsters. He will finish in the same position as last season. The board has got no guts. And Peter Harvey says, is he fit? John Myers, what so he can sit on his arse and get SAFC to pay him on bench time? He says, I don't think so. Like he's got SAFC for us better off bringing a fit player in, not a crock. Right, that's the catch up on that. Now I'm going to go over the press conference that Regis Lebray did. This was just 6 hours ago. On this one,
stream every moment of.
So just fast forward to when it comes back. In the beginning of this, you can hear Nick Barnes doing the interviews, getting the questions. If I can find out where it was, and here we go. So you'll be able to hear Nick Barnes asking the question which everybody wants to ask. Really, is it's all about the signings. Let's get the highest quality audience. Of course, about the signings, and are you concerned about it? Let's fast forward it a bit.
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
Here we
You
go.
have to go to Cardiff.
Yes, for sure. The pre-season was very interesting, and now I have a better understanding of the group, of the way of working, and I think we worked well. We worked on the game model with different experiences against many teams during this pre-season. The game against Marseille was interesting because for the pressing, for example, it was a good exercise for us. It will be different against Cardiff for sure, but for the capacity of adaptation, I think it was interesting, and now we are ready to compete.
Now he says we're ready to compete. A lot of Sunderland fans beg to differ on that one. Next, you'll hear Nick Barnes kicking in with this question. Have a listen.
You did say after Marseille there are areas of the pitch and the team that you need to work on. What are your concerns as you start the season? Where do you think you need to be working?
I think the main topic for us is the consistency. So, I think we can play very well during many phases.
Notice he never said we need strikers. You know, the most obvious one, which everybody was crying out, wanting them to say. But it's almost like he's under wraps. He's not allowed to say that. He's on about we need consistency. Yeah, of course we need consistency. But I think Nick Barnes was asking the fact, like, you know, the obvious.
During long minutes as well. But we can also have a lack of consistency. And in a league like the championship, you need to be consistent. So we have this confidence because we know that we can reach a high level, but the whole performance is the ability to keep that level during a long time. So this is now my main concern as a head coach, I think.
The fans' main concern is lack of a striker. How are you? What's your thoughts on that aspect at the moment? I mean,
Now, class Nick Barnes, he's straight in with the answer. And once again, really deliberately, he just wants to avoid it. He doesn't want to answer that. Have a listen.
Mayenda's played pre-season and he's been effectively your first choice. But are you hoping to get a more experienced striker into the squad?
Yes, for sure. But as a head coach, we still have two ideas. The first one is to work with the team.
So there we go. He sort of avoided that, hasn't he? It's like, you know, Nick Barnes was saying, like, would you like to have some strikers coming in? And he's basically saying we have to work with the team sort of we've got, which indicates there's bugger all happening.
So we have many talented players in this team, many strikers, as Eliza Mayenda, for example, and we will work with this team against Cardiff. So,
I mean, Mayenda. I mean, how many people say Mayenda couldn't hit a barn door with a sugar teaspoon?
my main concern at the moment is to work with these guys, and on the other hand, we want to improve the team, and it's difficult to find the right.
Once again, we want to improve the team. You're never going to improve the team if you're not signing quality strikers. If you want to get up that league, they're knocking on the door in the playoffs or top two, you're not going to improve on anything with these strikers.
Player, the right people to work with in that club, because the responsibility is high. It's not just a question of finding someone, it's a question of finding the right player for our team at that moment in that club with this responsibility, with this style of play and so on. So it's difficult, it's a long process. We still have 3 weeks ahead. Maybe it could be better if it was available now, but it's not the case, so we'll work without.
Is that frustrating for you?
Not really, because
How is it not frustrating? Once again, this indicates he's like the yes man. He's been told not to say things like that. You know, you've got millions of Sunderland fans absolutely frustrated to the hilt. The lack of business for signings, especially strikers, and Regis has just gone, not really. Unless you know something we don't know, I don't know.
as I explained just before, I like the player I have at the moment. So with them, I think we have a good potential. With another player, we will build something different, maybe. But with this player, we can perform well, I think. So let's work with it.
To me, it looks as if he's under wraps, doesn't he? He's the fact like I've got to be careful. It's not like the manager of a club where he's got the freedom to say stuff. You can clearly see, even looking at his face, he's sort of like, I've got to be careful what I say here. And somebody on the chat when this was getting played was even says he's obviously been told not to comment on it too much. He says Speakman's still in charge of the team. I mean,
The midfield, Elliot Embleton has gone to Blackpool, Jay Mattetti's gone to Bolton. Do you still feel you've got too many bodies in midfield now that Pervader's come, Brown's arrived as well?
I don't know really for the midfielders because we have many options. It's still the start of the season, so the next games will give us some other information, I think. If we think that a player can't develop himself, can't help the team because the time of play is not enough, I think it's better to leave, to go on loan and continue to develop. But at the moment, for these two players, it was important for them. For the others, we need to analyze.
I mean, the reason I'm watching, I mean, I was at work when this was getting played live. I didn't really see any of it. I have had a chance to look at it before I'm showing you guys.
You mentioned Cardiff. It will be very different to Marseille. What do you expect from Cardiff? They've got already 3 or 4 players out for a couple of months, and that's from pre-season. So they don't look a lot different to the way they ended last season.
The first games of the season are still different from the others because it's a restart. So no one knows exactly what will happen. So it's still open, it's still unknown. So for us, I think the main principle is to focus on our strength, on our game model, on how we want to play as a team, and then we will adapt with the events, with the style of play of Cardiff and other teams after this game.
And are you excited? Are you anxious? What's your feeling now? You're finally going to get competitive football.
Yes, excited for sure because I like competition. I like.
Yeah, he may be excited, but I think there's a lot of Sunderland fans a bit anxious, to be quite honest with you. It's like the sort of be the worst against Cardiff.
The championship. I like the hours before the game, and we can feel that everyone is now connected to the competition, and the pre-season was useful. It's like a different period, and now it's competition, and we are looking forward to playing this kind of game.
And finally, for me, a bit of housekeeping. Is everybody fit? I know there have been a couple of niggles in pre-season, but as far as you're concerned, going into the first game, have you got available the 11 that you hoped to be able to play?
Yes, I think we just have Leo, who maybe won't be available this weekend. For the others, they are still all available. Yeah.
Well, there we go. That's the quality of Nick Barnes, getting to the heart of things there. Asking the questions, but we're not really getting the answers. So we're going to go on to SFC News and Banter page now. And we're going to have a look. And of course, I've got their rumours that Dan Neil will be the new captain. So Kenneth says, well, R9's not a captain for me. Too error prone, and however funny they are, does have the odd brain fart and costing the team. Neil seems a decent choice, and hopefully it will lift him. So, Dan Neil for the captaincy there. Let me just move my my ugly face. I'll put it over here. How about that? So you can maybe read some of that. So yeah, Dan Neil. Will he be the new captain? What else has been going down? It's on about Oliver Bainbridge on bench against Tromsø in the UEFA Conference League. Andrew says, of course, we won't sign no one. And there we go. Welcome back, Ugbo. Ugbo makes permanent owl switch. And they've said basically he was on loan last season and helped keep them up. He says not really a shock that he signed for them. There are going to be a few replies to this. He says, I'd be really surprised if we were ever serious about him. He says, sounds like agent tricks to me. May well have inquired, but my guess it's not serious. He says, good luck anyway at Sheffield Wednesday. So I think a lot of people were surprised, really. Not surprised, should I say, that he was going to sign for Sheffield Wednesday on that one, to be quite honest with you. What else have we got? Yeah, just confirming that Ugbo signed for Sheffield Wednesday. And of course now the Elliot Embleton, who's now being signed permanently on Blackpool. A few mixed reactions from the fans there. Of course, he scored that class goal at Wembley. A lot of them remember him for. He's a Sunderland fan, Sunderland lad. But Elliot Embleton on his return to Blackpool. And there's a few fans have basically said, you know, he's not really up to scratch in the Championship. It's quite a mixed. I'm sad he's sort of gone. But is he good enough to get us up the next level? I don't know. Yeah, it says Regis Labrie has confirmed that right back Timothy Pembele could leave the club on loan before the end of the transfer window. More on the transfer talk. Stephen says we lack a cutting edge up front. Always looks like conceding goals. Picture there of Job Bellingham with his game face in. Kieran says locked in and ready for the game on Saturday. That's all it is. What else is there going? Regis Labrie says Sunderland's pursuit of a centre forward is difficult because the Black Cats are focused on making sure they sign the right player to lead their attack this season. And there's quite a backlash on that. More on the comments. Regis Labrie, we have a strong squad. The only doubt is Leo Hajeldi. This is who may miss out this weekend. And there's a lot of fans keep on saying be even stronger with a goal scorer or two. Just more reaction on the press conference. And there we go. Yeah, Sunderland midfielder Jay Matete has joined Bolton Wanderers on loan. That was announced today. And a lot of the Sunderland fans are basically saying, you know, well, good luck to the lad. Let's delve into some of the comments here and see what some of the Sunderland fans. Good luck, Jay, from a Sunderland fan. Mark Davis says, good luck. Ryan McCormick says, but the thing you've got to remember, if his loan move to Bolton is a very good one, we have the right to bring him back to Sunderland when he is in good form. And of course, we've been on the receiving end of that when we've had good players and they've gone. So the majority is saying good luck to him. So what are your thoughts on that, Matete going to Bolton? Here we go. Yeah, more about JC Matete going to Bolton Wanderers. A bit of a joke here. Say the line, tedious Sunderland fan. Can he play up front? With the Sunderland fans just being that desperate, really, about not getting any strikers. Anything that's news. People's face when they ask if they can play up front. Like I say, they're just desperate to get a striker or strikers in too. News of Sunderland FC is delighted to announce a new multi-year partnership with NWH Group, one of the UK's leading sustainable waste management companies. The initial agreement will run until summer 2027. Nat Reevely, hello mate, welcome on the chat. He says, we seriously need to get someone in, yes. It needs to be the right person and all the rest of it, but seriously, we need to get someone in. Seriously, I'm serious apparently. I think everybody's serious, but not as serious as you, obviously. But I take your comment, absolutely. And there's the, obviously the... Let's have a listen to that again. This is where the goal, Embleton.
Carved up a gap down the middle, Embleton. Still going, he's going to shoot. Goal!
God, that seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Good old Embleton. And good luck to him at Blackpool. And there he is. More videos reflecting on Embo. Oh, there isn't a sound button for that, is there? No, I don't think there's any sound for that. I don't know why, which is a shame. Oh, can't remember. Oh, yeah, wait a minute. Here we are. Let's have a listen to this.
Sunderland fans, here's the match winner, because it's Saturday night, and Embo scores again. Who? The League One.
Oh, absolute crackers. But I can't play too much of that because, obviously, of the music, and I'll get done. So, yeah, the majority of the rest of the news is thank you to Elliot Embleton. So that's the end of the Mackem review show, the catch-up of what's been going on the last 7 days in depth. Really getting to find out what the fans has been saying, and a look back on some of the big stories, what's been happening at the club. So I will be doing more videos tomorrow, of course, any breaking news, and of course join me for the uninterrupted live match commentary against, yes, I'm saying it, Cardiff City. It's season time again. Will it be the good times are back? Who knows? Join me on Saturday and let's see if we can start off getting the 3 points.